Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Principal Outdoors YouTube channel. Today what we're going to talk about is iPilot, the function of iPilot and iPilot Link. One of the questions I get asked most from our dealer base and from consumers when we're working shows is, what is iPilot and what is the difference between iPilot and iPilot Link? So that's what I want to explain to you today. So why don't we just start with iPilot? I'll go through everything that has to do with iPilot, what it is, how it works, and then we'll get on to iPilot Link. So first of all, for iPilot, what you get, this is the remote that comes with an iPilot. So it's a black and white screen, full button remote. This remote will do everything that a pedal will do. So prop on, prop off, faster, slower, left and right. But it also controls the iPilot functions. Now the thing with iPilot, what it is it's a GPS antenna built into the trolling motor, into the head of the trolling motor. So the motor has a GPS and it works with that GPS. So basically the motor knows where it is anywhere in the world. And that gives you a whole bunch of functions that you can do that make iPilot one of the greatest inventions that Minn Kota's done well, since the beginning of Minn Kota, actually. So, main function of iPilot is spot lock. That's what everybody wants, is spot lock, right? So you can just hit the anchor button on the screen and your motor will hold wherever it is. So like I said, the motor knows where it is in the world, right? And you've told it to stay on that spot, right? So it'll stay on that spot. If the wind picks up or the current is trying to move it, the motor will turn on, will steer and bring it right back to that spot within about 3 feet. It used to be about 6 feet, but recently it's been improved in the last few years to about 3 feet. So it's super tight, keep you right on that spot. So, you know, if you're jigging for walleye and you get that monster fish and you want to stay on that spot, you just hit the spot lock button, and your motor will not move until you turn that spot lock feature off. Once you're in spot lock, the other feature you can do is jog. So if I hit the right button, the button to go to the right, it'll actually just jog over 5 feet to the right, or I could bring it 5 feet to the left, or 5 feet forward, 5 feet back. So that's the jog feature that's included with it. One of my favorite features of iPilot is cruise control. So I'm not a guy who trolls too much, but in the kind of last few years I've started trolling a little bit more. And one thing I've noticed is the speed of your lure is probably the most important thing in trolling, along with depth, obviously. But being able to control the speed of that lure is very important, very, very important. Sometimes you got to slow down, sometimes you have to speed up. So iPilot allows the cruise control feature, again, because it has a GPS antenna in the head. You can set the cruise control to 1.1 miles per hour. And now the motor knows to stay at 1.1 miles per hour. So if a big wind picks up and the motor slows down, it knows it is slowed down and the prop will start going faster to keep it at 1.1 miles per hour. What makes it really valuable for trolling is, if you're going at 1.1 miles per hour and it's not working, you're not catching fish, maybe you're seeing fish on your hummingbird, but you're not triggering those strikes, well then you could bump it up to 1.3 miles per hour or slow it down to 0.9 miles per hour and see if you can trigger those fish. So that's cruise control, one of my favorite features in iPilot. What are some of the other things you can do? You can record a track. So I can press record on the remote, and I could, let's say I go around an island and I'm recording that path around the island because I love fishing that island. I can record that path up to 2 miles long, right? And then that path will always be in the memory as a track, and it'll be there until you erase it. So you could come back 2 years later on that same lake and redo that track if you haven't erased it. It could be a weed line. The best thing would be to record a weed line that comes in and out, so you control that weed line or just fish that weed line. And have that track in it, right? So that's one of the great features of iPilot as well, right? Autopilot. Now, autopilot, we used to have motors that were called autopilot motors, and what those were a liquid compass in the head of the motor, and you would basically point the trolling motor where you wanted to go, and the compass knew it was 120 degrees, and it would hold that motor on that bearing, right? So autopilot is also available with iPilot. But now it's with the GPS antenna. So it's actually got two autopilots. It's got just regular autopilot and advanced autopilot, which is even way more precise. So advanced autopilot is so precise that even sometimes if it's really windy or really bumpy out there, the motor will overwork because it's trying to do such a good job at staying in a straight line that you'll want to put it to regular autopilot. So basically what it is, like I said, you point the trolling motor where you want to go, you turn autopilot on, and it's going to stay on that bearing. It's going to stay. So I pointed at an island or my dock at the end of the lake, and it's going to keep on that line going to that dock. Regardless of wind or waves or current pushing it from the left or the right or whatever, it's going to keep on that track the whole way there. So those are the main features of iPilot. You can do 16 tracks, you can do 16 spot locks, and this is the remote, like I said. This is a Bluetooth remote, so all the models in the last few years, they're Bluetooth remotes. So that's how they work. And there is also an app for iPilot, phone app for iOS and for the other one. There's a phone app that you can download. It's free for sure. And you can control your trolling motor with your phone. So those are a couple of features. Those are the main features of iPilot. Next, we're going to talk about iPilot Link. All right, so now let's get down to iPilot Link. What's the difference between iPilot and iPilot Link? First of all, everything that I just said about iPilot, all of that applies to iPilot Link. So it has all the same features as iPilot, but now you're taking a bit of a step up. First step up is the remote. So that's the remote right here. This is a color remote, touchscreen remote, rechargeable remote. So it's really a high-end remote, really comfortable in your hands. I remember talking in meetings, deciding whether we'd put the buttons on the top or the bottom or where they were going to go. Buttons are on the top, but you can always turn it around and use the buttons on the bottom. So that's the decision we all came to. But that's the wireless remote that comes with it. It's Bluetooth as well, included in the box. Really, really good remote. The other difference is the capacity. So I said iPilot was 16 tracks and 16 spot locks. With Humminbird, you can do 66 tracks with iPilot Link, and you can do 2,500 spot locks. So basically, if your Humminbird, all those waypoints that you have in your Humminbird from the last 10 years, they can be spot locks, right? And why do I bring Humminbird into it? Because that is the main difference with iPilot Link, is that it hooks up to a Humminbird, right? So you can control your trolling motor from your Humminbird. Now, how do you know that if your motor's an iPilot or an iPilot Link? This is the question I get all the time. People have an iPilot motor and they're trying to figure out how to hook it up to their Humminbird. Well, if it's an iPilot motor, it won't hook up to your Humminbird. If it's an iPilot Link, it will. Very easy way to tell. Look at your motor, and if it has this cable right here coming out of it, so it's coming out of the base of the motor, that's an Ethernet cable. And this is how you connect it to your Humminbird. It'll come in the box. You'll have a 30-foot extension as well to hook it up. You need one adapter if you have a Helix. If you have a Solix, Onyx, Apex, then you don't need that adapter. It'll plug straight into the back. It's just a regular Ethernet cable that comes out of it, right? So that's how you know if your motor is an iPilot or iPilot Link. You'll have this cable. Usually they'll have two cables. One is for the transducer in the motor. It could look like this big one or even smaller. But the main one is this metal, about the size of your thumbnail, your fingernail, or pinky fingernail, metal connector like that. Has to be coming out of the motor. So that's an iPilot Link, right? So you get better memory or bigger memory with iPilot Link. You can control it with your Humminbird, like I said. So you'll actually get a remote screen coming up. So it looks like it's a virtual remote, shows up on your Humminbird. So you can do all the same features. Turn the prop on, turn the prop off, steer left, steer right, faster, slower. If you have an Altera motor, which is the motors that come out of the water on their own with a push of the button, you can actually stow that, have the motor come out by a push of the button on your sonar, on your Humminbird. So that's the great features of Link. Every time I do that, I'm just amazed. Holy cow, I'm pushing my button on my Humminbird and my Minn Kota's coming out of the water. It's great, right? The other thing you can do is backtrack. So again, I talked before about trolling, guys, and the advantage of iPilot for trolling. Backtrack is one of the best features with Link. It's that it's always, your GPS is always leaving a breadcrumb trail, always. So with iPilot Link, if you're trolling along and you tie into the biggest salmon that you've ever had, once you're done catching the salmon, landing it, putting them back in the water, taking them home for dinner, you could press backtrack and it'll take you back on the path that you went automatically, right? So you can make sure you cover that same ground where you just caught that monster fish, right? Another great feature is circle mode. So I can go in the middle of the bay, and on my Humminbird, I can set up a circle, the diameter I want, And then I can tell my trolling motor to follow that circle. And what it's going to do is it's going to draw left, orange one way and blue the other way, and it's going to follow that circle. When it's following that circle, you can also set cruise control, so you can decide how fast you want to follow that circle. Not just for fishing. If you're a pontoon guy and you're out there with your friends and you want to just hang out and troll around the bay, you can do circle mode and just go around the bay in a circle, or go around an island and just go all day long and just the motor will control the boat on its own. Backtrack, I already talked about. The other big feature, and this is one of the other huge features with iPilot Link, is follow the contour, right? So we've all got our maps. LakeMaster is a Humminbird company, and they make awesome maps for all over North America. Canada's done really well. We're adding more and more lakes every year. Really high definition, great maps. Now, if you look at those maps, you put one of those in your Humminbird, you can actually tell your trolling motor to follow a contour. So you just put your cursor on that contour, press go to follow the contour, and it will do it. And that's just amazing. It'll keep going. Basically, like I said, you can use your LakeMaster map, but also one of the other points I'm going to talk about in another video is a feature called Auto Chart Live that's built into Humminbirds. And this is where you make your own maps. So you can literally make your own map, follow the contour of your own map. You can build a lake, map it out, and then follow the contours on that map with iPilot Link. So those are the main differences. iPilot does not hook up to a Humminbird. iPilot Link does. That's what you got to look for. You got to know when you're buying it, you got to know which one you want. Usually most people that start with iPilot, it's not too long before they graduate to an iPilot Link motor, so keep that in mind while you're shopping this spring. And it's worked for years, like integrating the trolling motors with the Humminbirds. We've had this for a couple of years. Sometimes we don't even promote it enough, but we've had it for years. It works flawlessly. I never hear of issues with this. It's just a great system to have in your boat. Has nothing to do whether you're a tournament fisherman or not a tournament fishing. Fishing is all about enjoying it. In my mind, if you fish twice a year on your vacation, that's even more important than a tournament fisherman, because if you're only fishing for those 2 weeks during the year, you want to make sure everything's working right. So take a look at iPilot Link. You won't be disappointed. A couple of accessories you have. This is a holding cradle, so if you want your remote in a cradle in your boat, there's a cradle for iPilot Link motors. There's also micro remotes, so if you want a smaller remote or a second remote, you can get a micro remote. This is for iPilot or iPilot Link. The one thing I almost forgot is the reason why iPilot and iPilot Link is so precise and down to 3 feet when you're spot locking is because of this. This is a little Bluetooth heading sensor. So this is included in the box as well with all iPilot motors and iPilot Link, except for Power Drive. Power Drive is our entry-level trolling motors, so it's not included in those. But every other one has this Bluetooth heading sensor included in the box. This will pair up with your trolling motor, and it'll share data. So it's a heading sensor. It's not a GPS antenna. It knows there's a little arrow on it right here, so when you install it, the arrow's pointing to the front of your boat or straight forward. And so it's telling the trolling motor where the trolling motor is pointed, because with GPS is very precise. It knows where it is, but it doesn't know where it's pointed. So this is telling the boat where it's pointed as well, and that helps to keep it that much more precise. Communicates with the motor wirelessly. You can even use this to help out your GPS on your Humminbird as well. You can go in your menu and use this as well. So it's included in the box. For some reason, I get questions, I get phone calls, and people are like, do I really have to install it? Well, no, you don't have to install it if you don't want to, but it makes your motor more precise, and you paid for it. It's in the box. It's not like we threw it in there for free. So it's a great little item. It's just a power cable. Just hook it up to your battery, cranking battery. Draws very little power. Light goes on when it's hooked up with your motor. Once it's paired, it'll shut off automatically when you shut down your trolling motor. And when you turn on your trolling motor, it'll turn on automatically. So it's fully automatic. Just a great little device that's included with your iPilot and iPilot Link motors. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, just please put it in your comments below. If there's other things you want to see that have to do with all the brands we work with, then just put it in the comments below, and I'll try to get to them as soon as you can. Thanks a lot. iPilot Link follow the contour. So here's a 10-foot contour, and I want my trolling motor to follow that contour. Just take my cursor, put it right on the contour, select select follow the contour, and now you have a choice between the orange line, which you can see there, or the blue line, meaning do you want to go this way or that way around the contour. I'm going to select the blue line, and now it's going to start going to there. I just turn on my prop, motor will turn on, and it'll take me to the contour. Here's another new function with Minkota's iPilot Link. It's called circle mode. So if I have this island right here in front of me and I'd like to have my trolling motor just pull me around the island, I can take my cursor and put it in the middle of the island and then hit the go to button and then select circle at the cursor. And then what I want to do is set the radius. So right now it's set to 36 meters. Let's make that just a bit bigger for safety reasons so we don't hit the island. 38 is good. And now it's asking me, do I want to go clockwise around the island, which is the blue, or do I want to go counterclockwise, which is the red? Let's select clockwise. And now it's ready to go. Turn on my motor, turn the prop on, and there you go. It's going to take me to the around the island clockwise.